Cheap flights, we should have gone by sea. There's no such feckin' thing as a feckin' flight for 50p. Feckity, 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 feck, feck, feck. Feckity, 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 feck, feck, feck.
Howdy Chunky, it's a Friday night live across the world. We're in Lincoln at the new Theatre Royal to meet three of my friends, the fabulous, fascinating AIDA. Selling tickets isn't easy in 2021 and these three ladies are doing it on a nightly basis across the UK. I highly recommend the 5-star fascinating AIDA. Dillie, Adele and Liza are three of the funniest, warmest stars currently touring the UK. They're bringing back old-fashioned variety. If you liked Victoria Wood at the piano, you're going to love these three ladies. Let's go inside to the theatre and meet fascinating AIDA. Welcome back to The Voice of Reason. I'd like you to meet three friends, three stars, three ladies who are packing theatres. Adele, Liza, and my dear friend Dillie. How are you, love?
I'm very well. How are you?
Well, I'm delicious, but not as good as you three. I mean, what a thrill to have a show that's selling out. I mean, this is unprecedented in 2021. They're all struggling and you're not.
Thank you.
We're in Lincoln. Continue.
We're in Lincoln, so I always feel a little bit godly in Lincoln. Thank you, God.
These theatres are beautiful, aren't they?
Hmm?
I mean, to play the old theatres is great. You play a lot of barns, some big venues, but to come to a place where you can see the whites of the eyes, that must be special.
It's just the best. I mean, I think we love it most when it feels like you're doing it in your front room. So being able to actually see the audience looking up at you. And what's been amazing about this tour for us, I think, particularly, is incredibly emotional, is getting out on stage and hearing an audience laugh. Just hearing that response after 18 horrific months has been fabulous.
And sadly, that's the closest we can get to the audience at the moment. As you know, we always used to go out through the audience and meet everybody afterwards and meet and greet and pose for pictures and flog our CDs, basically. But, and of course, we can't do any of that at the moment, which is a great sadness.
It's strange, isn't it? I was at the North Pier in Blackpool at the weekend and nobody seems to care anymore. It's amazing how quickly people have moved on and the theatre community is back and they're coming and they just want to sit there. I didn't see any masks. They're just having the time of their lives, which is all they really want, isn't it?
We have to be fairly careful though, because we don't have any understudies. And so we are slightly being bubblicious and keeping away from people. Because, you know, if one of us has to isolate, that's the show closed for 10 days. And it's a complete pain in the arse. Yeah. So we test regularly and we're very careful. I mean, when my sister came to see the show, I didn't even give her a hug. I just went, sorry, can't.
It's amazing, we're all testing to be here and show business has got to get back and the public are so thrilled to see you back. The laughs in this show are extraordinary and they're born out of that old school humour that we might believe has gone, but you only need to see your show to see people still want to laugh.
So it's hardly surprising that you think we're all cunts.
And the synergy between the three of you, it's so inspiring. It's not easy, is it, to find three people that connect so brilliantly?
We were just saying in the dressing room, actually, as we were putting on a very tiny bit of slap for this purpose, what an unlikely trio we are, but somehow it works. It's always worked, hasn't it? Since the very first moment that we got together. We met I joined the gang 17 years ago and went to Dillie's flat then in Chiswick, and Adele sat and pondered down at me as I sang, and we just gelled instantly. So yeah.
It's sort of the Mamma Mia of comedy in a way, because you're all slightly incongruous, you're all very different, but then it's just three ladies having the time of their lives. You were the original Mamma Mia, weren't you?
I was. I'm the old founder, the oldest, by 3 weeks, I have to say. Adele was born 3 weeks after me, much to my annoyance, and she's held it over me ever since. And I founded it, in 1983, and I have to say that some of the years have been quite a struggle because, until we found Liza, there was no real continuity. We'd get a feeling of continuity for a while and then it would all sort of evaporate. Sopranos always seem to think that there's a better life elsewhere and a better career elsewhere.
Vocally, you're all amazing and excellent, and that's what makes it. This isn't some gag that's done badly. It has to be done brilliantly and perfectly for it to work. That's important, isn't it?
Yes, and we've got such disparate voices as well, and it's amazing that when we come together, that they blend as well as they do. But it's because I've got quite a big voice, but I sing in the middle. People often think I sing in the bottom, but I sing in the middle, and I've learned over the years how to float notes so I can can sing very, very soft.
Yes, you're a
notes
very
now.
skilled
But
harmony
it took a
singer.
long time. It took
Yeah.
me years to get there.
But I think we all love harmony. I mean, we share a very eclectic musical love and knowledge, and I think when we're you know chipping away at the coalface writing songs, that's been hugely important. And so when we're on stage, we value the music as much as we value the lyrics. They don't exist without each other, and so we care deeply about all of it.
And Dillie's very kind. She writes for your strengths and disguises your weaknesses when she's writing music and parts for you.
What's magical about this, and I remember interviewing Bob Monkhouse once, and he said, say anything, just don't name the parts. And that's really what you do. I mean, it's naughty in places. I mean, your most famous hit that we'll talk about later is naughty, but somehow it feels like a warm teddy bear hugging you.
I'm not a warm teddy bear at all. But if people want to think that I am, that's lovely.
But the warmth is what pulls it off. If not, it wouldn't work. That's what's beautiful about the three of you together, is that warmth and unity is why it feels so familiar and so cozy.
Well, that's great. I mean, and also there's a sort of, you know, people always say it's very surprising hearing three very well-spoken people, being females as well, being quite so rude.
And I think if we weren't singing it, if we were just standing up on our own on a stage doing stand-up, I just don't think we'd get away with it. I think we get away with absolute murder because we sing, as Dillie said, three very nicely spoken women of un certain âge, you know, singing absolutely outrageous lyrics, politically cutting, socially cutting, you know, absolutely pushing the boundaries of what's acceptable with in nice frocks.
And as a result, we've always been considered to be too rude for television.
Isn't it silly though, because language is one of those things, and I've had run-ins over the years with Ofcom, the broadcast regulator, and they get very uptight about words. If they're in the dictionary, they are just words, and they're all in the dictionary. That's what's interesting, isn't it?
Oh yes.
It depends how you wield them, though, of course. And words are weapons sometimes.
Yes, they can be.
Adele is also our word monitor, so she won't let us use words twice in a show. So if a strong word has been used once, then if it's been put into another
She
song,
says, the word boulder has been used already.
this cannot be a too bold a show, she says.
Talking of bolder and bolder, I mean, this show pushes the limits with all kinds of topics, and as you say, I mean, it's so current and it presses the buttons of what we're all aggravated by. And this new show is more personal than ever. I mean, I saw you just before lockdown, and you really go as personal as you've ever been, and it's so moving, and you certainly, Adele, get the biggest round of applause of the night. It's magical.
Well, yes, we talked about doing that song a long time ago, as we say in the show, and I really wasn't very keen on it because I've had to sort of go through a journey with being a trans woman, because when I transitioned, the whole idea was that you just melted, you know, what we called stealth. You lived in stealth, and you just lived as a woman. And of course, I was working with two other women. We were a 3-woman group, and that was the end of it. I think it was only when they started rounding up and torturing the gay people in Chechnya that we started to see that there was going to be a change in how things were developing. And now, of course, there is this whole trans argument that's going on, and trans women particularly are being portrayed as sexual predators all over the place. So it's a very important song, I think, to have now, just to realise that we should all be able to live as the lives that we want to, provided we're not hurting anybody else. And B, that this toxicity is I think it's mainly kicked up by the media. I don't think the public really are that riled up about it, given the response that they give to me, because if they were, I think they might pelt me with rotten fruit, but they don't.
Well, it's interesting. I was going to say, as the person that, I mean, Dillie and I are merely wallflowers in it. We sing a little bit in it, but as the people that get to watch her do it every night, we've never ever had anything other than great warmth and huge respect coming back from the audience. And you know, that was even when we started singing it, which was a few years ago now, when the the subject wasn't quite as at the forefront as it is even now, going into very, very not necessarily the big cities where you thought, oh gosh, I wonder how this is going to land. And always, absolutely, with just great warmth and respect from the audience. So
yes, I mean, Adele, you really didn't want to do it at all.
I really didn't.
No, I mean, reluctant doesn't really describe it. But I just felt that enough of the audience knew that Adele had transitioned and loved her, and sort of loved you for it as well. I just felt it was time, really, and I just thought the idea of Prisoner of Gender is such a great pun, and it's such a great idea. And eventually I persuaded her and just said, look, let's write it and see how it turns out. I promise you I will not make you sing it. But I want you to sing it, if we finish it and if we think it's good enough, we'll sing it to our producers. And our producers, David Johnson actually cried. Big old softy. But he did actually cry. He was very moved by it and said, it has to go into the show. It's really important. Because the thing is, it treats it with the lightest of touches, and it makes fun with it, not fun of it.
Yes.
We say to the audience, all you have to do is have it off. You're all, you're waiting for your own transitions. And that's fun to say that to an audience because it lightens the thing.
Well, I want to thank you because I think what you've done for the cause is so important, because I always say on my show, we're called the voice of reason. I'm sick of being screamed at. Don't scream at me, talk to me, because a lot of people just don't understand. And I think what you prove is when you walk on a stage, I don't look at you as anything other than a star who can sing, who's a great entertainer. That's the first thing and the only reason I came. Anything else is irrelevant, and just stop screaming. And that's what we've all got to do with everything. There's a lot of noise everywhere, isn't there?
Oh, absolutely. And I'm afraid some of it comes from the trans community. In fact, a lot of it does. And it's not.
It's dangerous saying that.
I know, but it's true. I'm sorry to say, but and I know that it's a lot of it comes from you want to hurt me, so I'm going to lash out. But I'm a great believer in Michelle Obama's missive, which is when they go low, we go high.
And there is something that we talked about earlier, which is the power of song, which is unlike anything else. Which it is an amazing opportunity to, as you say, don't shout at me. It is an amazing opportunity to open the doors on a subject that people might not otherwise have wanted to engage in or have felt differently about. And at the end of 3 or 5 or however many minutes of your song, go, oh, okay, because they've laughed, because they've been moved, because they've had their armor taken down without them even realizing it. I think that's what music can do. That's why what we do is so different to what anybody else does.
I do think so many could learn though. Just come out and be you, and then tell us your story, and there isn't a person going to be offended. It's the screaming that gets in the way, and that's what we learn from your show with so many.
The lack of discourse, of reasoned discourse and of nuance. I mean, we've got a new song about the woke debate. Of course we have. I'd be interested to know your reaction, actually. I'm not going to tell you anything about it.
Well, you've probably worked out I'm not a big fan of cancel culture or wokeism. If you don't like it, don't go is my theory. And funnily enough, the last time we were here was with Ward Shelby Brown. And again, if you don't like him, don't come. And then let those who want to come. And this should be the world we live in, that we're all able to choose. It seems like the world's shrinking. And what I love about your show is the ridicule and the silliness.
We were dogging. In the struggle, poor old Brian tore his frogging. Our apparel was misguided, because when our heads collided, Brian's manhood then subsided.
And you just point us in the direction of, calm down, this is very silly, and that's what we all love.
Well, that's very kind of you to say. I'm delighted that that's the effect.
And we've been doing it for a very long time, because when political correctness was a thing, we had a song about that.
Yes.
And we used to do this sort of dance that we're politically correct. Yes, we're politically correct. And then of course the hands go up. Because it is a form. We police each other too much. And okay, we do sort of raise our eyebrows at people, and when my partner uses really, really difficult language, I go, you can't say that nowadays. Oh, why not? It's a free word. He's an Irishman. And I say, well, yeah, but it's so offensive. I mean, the whole thing about political correctness and about wokeism is it starts from a good base. It starts from, let's be nicer to one another.
Yes.
But when people then start to rule each other about what can and can't happen, then it becomes intolerable.
And it was a very, very complex moment trying to write the song, trying to navigate the song. The girls, I live in Cornwall, and the girls came down for a week to do some writing in August, and we did all our rewrites and all the things that we needed to do in the first few days of the week, and then we said, right, roll our sleeves up, this is what we need to crack into Woke now. And oh my God, it was a real tough few days, kind of clawing it out of the rock.
And having we talk about everything for hours, we discuss things, and then we'll sort of sit online and say, let's research that incident that happened with so and so, or like the cancelling of somebody or whatever, or an incident that might have happened. And you talked about your week with working in Salisbury. Which
I did a workshop of a new trans play, and I learned quite a lot about what it was to be non-binary from one of the cast there, which I had to bring up during the writing of the show, where I felt that we hadn't quite got it right there,
but that in itself was the epitome of what we were writing about. Was the conversation between the three of us about all people who all mean well, who all hope that we have our finger on the pulse of what is okay and what isn't, all three of us wrestling with what the language was of the song. Hopefully we've got it right. You'll be the judge of that.
Again, there's a lightness of touch.
Yeah.
To the song.
It leaves the audience to make up their mind. I think what the other thing is, which is very useful, is that you live in sort of East End, and you have a sort of very kind of urban thing, but Liza and I both live in the country, in small villages, where we don't meet anybody in showbiz from day to day at all. So it's terribly useful to be able to tap into that.
Yes.
What we're laughing
Real
at
life.
is real life.
Yes.
Yeah, exactly. And again, having worked at the BBC for 15 years, I'd like you to write a song called "Don't Be a Box Ticker, Do Your Job Properly," because I think there's something in that these days, that we spend all our times putting people in positions that they don't need to be in, just to look like they're there, and when they get there they can't do it, and then they have to be replaced. We see this all the time with the police and the councils, and this is really the backbone.
Dido Harding, yes.
So many,
yes.
Exactly. We could be here all day. And listen, ladies, you're brilliant. Last night I heard a new CD, by the way, from a lady called Liza Pullman. I don't know whether you've heard of her. She's rather good. Congratulations on this new album. I don't know whether this is a compliment or not, but you've sort of got that Streisand touch about you, and that beautiful sort of warm blanket feel. This album's lovely, and it's available now. You should be very proud of it.
Thanks,
It's called The Heart of It.
Thank you. Thanks, Dillie.
And you can get it from her website, LizaPullman with 1L.com. There we go.
And you can see Liza and the ladies. Adele, thank you for your time, and of course Dillie for talking to us here at the Theatre Royal in Lincoln, a beautiful theatre. And you can see Fascinating AIDA on tour throughout 2021, 2022, and forever, I hope.
For the rest of our lives.
You are magnificent. Ladies, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
A fantastic job by Fascinating AIDA. Topical, outrageous, brilliant, comic timing like no other. Three of the funniest women in Britain. Don't miss them on tour. Fascinating AIDA.
Shite,